Why is it that 30 years after the passing of an actor who was never the lead in any of his movies is so beloved? That actor we're talking about is Slim Pickens, whose real name is Lewis Burton Lindley Jr. He was born June 29th, 1919. If you were going by his accent alone, you would assume that he was from the South. But he was actually born in Kingsburg, California, not far from Fresno. His father was from Texas, and his mother was from Missouri, which altogether explains his southern drawl. His family was a ranching family. They actually called him Bert. He was at home in a saddle from an early age. He had his own horse when he was 4. Now, he was expected to work on the family ranch, but by the time he turned 15, he found his true passion was for rodeo. Rodeo was in his blood. He grew up on a horse, so he was completely familiar with it. It's kind of funny that during the Second World War, he enlisted in the Army. It's reported that when the recruiter asked his profession, he responded rodeo. This was misread as radio, and he spent his entire enlistment at a radio station in the American Midwest. Now, whether there's any truth to this story, I don't know, but it sure makes for a fine tale. His dad was not pleased with his passion for the rodeo and had warned him to never enter those events. It's said that he couldn't stand it. He would go to the rodeos and all he wanted to do was ride in them. He finally mustered up the courage to actually register for one of the rodeos, and when he walked up to the window to sign up, he actually explained to the lady that he didn't want his dad to know who he was by signing up on the contestant sheet with his real name. The lady said, "Why don't you call yourself Slim Pickens, kid? Because that's all it's going to be around here for you. You're not going to win a dime." That day he won $400 right out of the chute. From that point on, Bert was known as Slim Pickens. Slim then became immersed in the rodeo scene. He was riding bareback horses and saddle broncs, but he wasn't making a whole lot of money at it. It was basically Slim Pickens. So he started looking around for another avenue that included rodeo but wasn't riding. He decided to be a rodeo clown. Now, a rodeo clown usually wears makeup and costumes similar to a circus clown, but their primary job is very serious and dangerous. It's to protect the bull riders. When the rider is thrown, the clown must distract the angry animal long enough for the rider to make it to safety. It was never a cakewalk. The rodeo clown's job became a lot tougher in the 1920s with the introduction of the mean-natured Brahma bull. Slim Pickens was a success at this, and he got lots of laughs. He clowned for a lot of rodeos, and he made a lot of money doing it because he was genuinely funny. Being that most clowns of the day wore baggy pants and had their faces painted, he didn't. He wore a matador's outfit. He would walk out into the arena like a matador, really using a cape. He was so loved at the top of his game in rodeo that he was actually included in the rodeo advertisements. This was probably a first for a rodeo clown. The reality is, though, that rodeo clowning was a rough business. During his career, he broke like 16 bones, and that doesn't even count the ribs that he broke. They never counted those. In 1950, Slim met the love of his life, Margaret Harmon, in what Hollywood would consider to be a perfect meeting. Margaret was galloping her horse at the Madrea horse track when Slim, not looking, stepped out on the track and she nearly ran him down. After this happened, he just had to meet this beautiful redhead. Margaret was actually kind of a human calculator, a math whiz. She worked for Howard Hughes, and she figured out important calculations in aeronautical things. She always handled the money in their relationship. She paid all the bills, and he loved it that way. Slim would find himself in a new arena when his career break came in 1950. Director William Niley had seen his rodeo act and offered him a screen test. Niley had a film called Rocky Mountain starring Errol Flynn as a Confederate officer leading a small band of soldiers who save a stagecoach from an Indian attack. Republic Pictures saw Slim's potential and signed him up as a sidekick to Rex Allen in the Rex Allen Western series that started in 1952 with Colorado Sundown. Aside from his wife Margaret, the other great love in Slim's life was one that his audiences would recognize: a blue roan Appaloosa named Dear John. He spotted the young gelding in a Montana pasture in 1954 and convinced his wife Margaret that he was worth the $150 investment. After Slim worked with trainer Glenn Randall, the horse Dear John would buck on cue, would throw kisses, would shake his head yes or no, would sit like a dog, and would grab a blanket off his back and throw it. The horse rode into the Hollywood arena in all the Rex Allen pictures and other films, and performed in rodeos in between movies. In 1958, in the classic The Big Country, the horse played Old Thunder, a horse that Gregory Peck tries to ride. But the horse bucked Gregory Peck off. Slim doubled for Peck in the long shots. From then on, Slim would only let Dear John work if he could be the one doing the riding. Their connection was actually considered almost psychic. They knew each other's thoughts. The role that made Slim not only a star, but also seared his image in the American consciousness was Dr. Strangelove. That was Stanley Kubrick's black comedy about a demented general leading the U.S. into nuclear war. The star of the film, Peter Sellers, had already played 3 roles in the making of the film. He played a Royal Air Force officer, the U.S. President, and Strangelove. He was all set to play the bomber pilot Major King Kong when a problem arose. It was widely reported by the media that Sellers was said to have broken his leg or become ill. But when Slim was urgently contacted to play the role of Kong, it was explained a lot more simply. Sellers couldn't get the accent right. Stanley Kubrick was such a perfectionist that he had to have that accent perfect. So they hired Slim for the role. Now, Slim had never been out of the country before, and he had to fly to London to film the movie because Stanley Kubrick did all his filming in London. And Slim didn't realize that he needed a passport until he arrived in London. He had to stay at the airport until someone could rush him one. The mishaps of the film don't stop there. In the film, Slim is supposed to ride one of 2 bombs, each showing their names painted on them. One had the name Hi There on it, and the other one had the name Dear John on it. If you'll remember, Dear John was his horse's name, and he wanted to ride that bomb like a bronco. Some kind of miscommunication put the bombs in a wrong position, so Slim ended up straddling Hi There instead of Dear John. Slim would learn that he had come within 2 votes of an Oscar nomination for that 1964 film, Dr. Strangelove. Mel Brooks' 1974 film Blazing Saddles. It's probably one of the films that Slim Pickens is most remembered for. He plays the part of Taggart. This film was a monumental hit in 1974 for Mel Brooks and for all of the cast. There was a tremendous supporting cast that included Alex Karras, Dom DeLuise, Madeline Kahn, Harvey Korman, and we can't forget the main characters, Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder. Slim Pickens also did a lot of voice work in Hollywood. His television career was pretty extensive, too. He was in episodes of Cheyenne, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, The Lone Ranger, Route 66, Maverick, and the list kind of goes on and on. He even emceed NBC's short-lived country music variety series called the Nashville Palace in 1981. It's kind of funny, he had a brother named Samuel that was also an actor, and he used the stage name Easy Pickens. In the last years of his life, Slim lived with his wife in Columbia, California. He died in December of 1983 after he had had surgery for a brain tumor. His funeral was held at the Presbyterian Church of the 49ers in Columbia, California. This is where he was a member for years. His remains were scattered over his favorite trails. Slim's wife died in 2011 at the age of 89. Thank you, Slim Pickens, for the memorable roles that you gave us. You are a man of many talents. Rest in peace. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please subscribe and hit the like icon and the bell icon so you'll be notified of my new videos.